Welcome to ESG Decoded, where we unravel the business complexities at the intersection of environmental, social, and governance issues.
I'm Erika Schiller, and I'm joined by my ClimeCo colleagues, Emma Cox and Anna Stablum.
Get ready to explore the intersection of sustainability, innovation, and ethical leadership, the dynamic forces shaping our global economy.
From climate action to social responsibility, we're here to decode the ESG landscape by interviewing interesting leading figures across the globe that will empower you with actionable insights.
Whether you're a seasoned practitioner or just embarking on your sustainability journey, this podcast is your compass for navigating the future of responsible business practices.
Let's decode ESG together.
Welcome to ESG Decoded. I am thrilled to have Arin Schultz with me today, who is the Chief Growth Officer at Naturepedic. Arin has over 9 years of experience in the organic mattress industry. Arin is a passionate and driven leader who oversees the sales and marketing strategy at Naturepedic. As the Chief Growth Officer, he's committed to advancing Naturepedic's mission of providing healthier and safer sleep solutions for people and the planet, while bringing diverse perspectives and experiences to the team. He is motivated by the challenge of creating and delivering value for the customers, partners, and stakeholders, and by the vision of making a positive impact on the environment and society. He's been at Naturepedic for 11 years, working his way up the ranks from account manager to now Chief Growth Officer. Arin, welcome to the show.
Very happy to be here today.
Great. Well, Arin, let's start by getting to know Arin Schultz. And we really like to start the shows this way so the listeners can get to know you on a human level. So tell us, who is Arin Schultz? What is your why? Why do you do what you do today?
I don't know if we got enough time in this afternoon to cover all that, but I will keep it as short as I can. As I do everything in life, especially for the last 18 years, which is crazy to say. I have my oldest is graduating high school next week, which, we're very excited about. But honestly, everything I do is for my kids. And it's been a huge driving force for me. When we first found out that we were having a baby, my first child, I was kind of a little bit of a listless ship, and I didn't really know where I wanted to go with my, when I was 17, my dad was like, you got to go to college. And I was like, well, where should I go to college for? And he's like, I don't know, just go to college. And I had 7 different majors and over the course of 3 years, and I just didn't know what I wanted to do. The longest one I stuck with was probably criminal justice, and I would have made a real crappy cop. I'll tell you that much. But then we found out, at 23, which is, very young to have a child, and I do not recommend it for everybody. I just happened to get lucky. I wanted to be something for my kid and be able to provide for them. And my dad, unfortunately, passed away over the holidays. He was a very straight to the point kind of a guy. And he was like, you should try sales because you inherited your mother's love of BS, which is very endearing. But my dad's a man of few words, and when he does speak, it means something. So I tried sales and I got into that, and I just really enjoyed it. It was something new for me to tackle, and I really just liked the process of it. And I really did enjoy working with people. I had a great mentor at the time, and they're, since retired and everything. But I asked him one day, and, why are you so good at what you do? And like, why are you, because we were commission based at the time, and his commission checks were like way more than mine. And he's like, it's all about relationships, and you really got to build on those things. And that's, to this day, that's why being a Naturepedic, I get to build on those relationships. I get to build on those brand partnerships. I have 66 people that work underneath me right now. And I'm sure any great boss, people are going to talk crap about you eventually. But I will say largely, I have a very low turnover rate in both sales and marketing and customer service. And everyone really enjoys working here, and I'm proud of the fact that people get to come to work every day and are proud to work for me and for this company. I think those are the things that make me tick, because at the end of the day, I just want to make my kids proud of me, and I'm really excited about that.
I can certainly relate to that, Arin. I know you and I are both parents, and we're fueled by the next generation and doing the right thing, and specifically our next generation. But it's funny you say, you're good at sales because you're good at relationships. I think that's very true. I always talk about that in building trust. But also, I think that if you have a purpose and you believe in the company's mission, you become an organic salesperson. I always joked that I was never a salesperson, but if I really believed in the mission and the purpose, I could absolutely sell it because I can tell a great story about that. So it sounds like you're doing that with Naturepedic and that they are a company you can get behind and believe in. So tell us a little bit more about what is Naturepedic. I think we've all heard of the mattresses and sort of the concept of a pedic mattress, but tell us a little bit about Naturepedic's mission and purpose and what it is you all do.
Naturepedic's been around for 22 years now, and I think there's a very 1980s way of selling mattresses. People always think it's real gimmicky and super sales heavy, and it's more of a commodity than something. I mean, you spend a third of your life in bed, and it should be a very, for lack of a better word, intimate purchase, and you should put a lot of thought behind it because it really, to the way you wake up in the morning, to how you conduct yourself during the day, it really just whether or not you had a good night's sleep. And we're trying to peel the curtain back from some of the other tactics within the mattress industry, but also who we are as a brand. We do a lot of charitable work, which my last couple of years, we have made it a huge push for us as a brand. It's just so important and vital for any company really to be doing charity work because we're in a position now where we're able to do that. We're doing well as a company, and that allows our people to come in, the people who work for us, to be very proud of working in Naturepedic. And we spend hundreds of thousands of dollars a year doing charitable work. I mean, just a recent example, the LA wildfires, which, kind of captivated the entire world because to see a major city in the world just literally be on fire, it was, I was born in Southern California, so it's got a soft place in my heart. We replaced all the crib mattresses that were purchased from Naturepedic for the last 3 years, and it wasn't a small number either. And, at the end of the day, we just wanted parents to, one less thing they're going to have to worry about, to have at least, the very least, have babies have a safe spot to sleep in at night was everything to us. And that's us as Naturepedic. Yes, we're all, trying to grow the business and everyone's trying to make more money. I mean, it is the United States. I mean, capitalism is alive and well. But if we can all feel good about doing it along the way, that's the whole reason for it.
I used to work for a company where the whole sustainability platform was called Scale for Good, right? And that's really what it's about. As a company, if you have the scale, you should be doing the right thing with that, right? And so would love to get into a bit more about Naturepedic's sort of sustainability focus and purpose focus with you. But I wanted to share with you my own perspective, right? When I think about a mattress, and specifically a pedic mattress, and maybe you can define that for our listeners in a little bit, but you open it, right? And typically, and you can debunk this if this is not true in the case of Naturepedic, but you open it and it comes out and it just wafts this sort of chemical smell, right? And I had this perception of pedic beds that they're just full of chemicals, right? And I think as consumers, especially when you're buying a mattress for your kids, you want to avoid any sort of toxicity, right? And then you think about end of life, right? So what do you do when you get rid of the mattress? And where does it go? And gosh, you think about, the size of a mattress and putting it out on the curb, and does it just go in a landfill somewhere, right? And so can you speak to our listeners just a little bit about some of those perceptions, and maybe there's an opportunity for you to sort of tell the story around Naturepedic and your philosophy.
How the company got started 22 years ago is Barry, one of our founders, is a board certified environmental engineer, and he knows exactly what chemicals are going into making a whole host of products. They were buying their first crib mattress for their first grandchild, and he refused to put the baby down on the crib mattress or purchase it for that matter, because he knew what chemicals were going to that, because they're so toxic for you in so many different ways. There's over 100 different chemicals that go into mattress manufacturing. And, we did not start out to be an organic company. It goes for any product. Once you start taking out all the stuff that's bad for you, you kind of just come to be an organic company. Once Barry started, and his two sons, Jeff and Jason, started telling people here's what's not in our mattress. It's when you start using organic cotton, organic latex, organic wool, there the opportunity came to be where, well, now we can actually be an organic product. And there is a growing movement. It's why like Naturepedic as a brand is doing so well, is consumers are really educating themselves on what's inside of their standard mattresses. I mean, a standard queen size polyurethane foam mattress has over 20 gallons of crude oil that go into making that mattress. Not on top of all the flame retardant chemicals that go into making, and flame retardant chemicals are known carcinogens. And they are known, it is widely known, look it up. They're very bad for you. And to lay down on that every single night, to put your kids down on that, to put your babies down on that is
a third of your life.
A third of your life, to be in this chemical cloud for hopefully, God willing, 30 years of your life are going to be in this chemical laden cloud, which in some instances might end up getting shortened just for the simple fact of putting this around yourself. I would say the industry as a whole is a little bit of a farce when it comes to like this special foam and that special foam and soybean foam and whatever. It's all just marketing tactics. And, really it is the same exact thing. It's just a different color and a different shape. And at the end of the day, it is crude oil that they have foamed up into polyurethane foam and put flame retardant chemicals inside of it. And it is literally touching your skin and you're breathing that in. So,
well, it's good to know Naturepedic's not doing that. So what are you all doing if you're not using those crude oils?
Well, we're sleeping better at night, I can tell you that much. But we use organic cotton, organic latex, organic wool. We make all of our own coils in-house. We don't use any flame retardant chemicals in any of our mattresses. By the nature of our designs, we're actually able to pass flammability tests without using extra flame retardant chemicals or barriers. And that allows us to kind of buck the trend when it comes to the rest of the mattress industry. There are a lot of things that we do that are specific to Naturepedic that we don't cut corners. We don't use any glues or adhesives either in any of our manufacturing process, which takes a lot longer and is a little more expensive. But our big tagline has been since before I even started here was no compromise. And I appreciate that out of it is if it's faster or cheaper or whatever, like, as a company, we just refuse to do it because we just want to do at the end of the day what's right for our consumers. And if it costs us a little bit more of a company, then so be it. At least we're going to be able to stand by our laurels and put out a product that we can be proud of and consumers can spend their money knowing that we're not trying to pull the wool over their eyes, no pun intended.
Well, that's great to know. That's a great philosophy as a company. And now I want to go buy a Naturepedic. But you touched on something really interesting, which is about labels, right? And when you look at the Naturepedic name, you literally have nature in your name, right? And so there are all these companies, to your point, out there that are sort of using labels and certifications incorrectly. And talk to me about the impact of that. And are you sort of as a company working to standardize and regulate the use of those types of labels, whether it's natural or organic? Talk to us about that. And A, sort of what are the implications of using the wrong labels? And B, what is Naturepedic doing to sort of make sure that that is more regulated and folks are really sort of making sure that they're checking the boxes and doing all the right things to reach that certification or label?
I think it's unfortunately become a lot more prevalent is there's a lot of brands that, and again, any amount of usage of organic product when it comes to sleep is a good thing. But I think from a certification standpoint, those are what matters. And I think a lot of brands do use the fact of like they use GOTS certified cotton. GOTS, Global Organic Textile Standard, they make sure that like from the time that seed has been planted in the ground to the time the cotton gets to the manufacturer of said fabric, it gets to your plant, generally it's a certified organic product, which is great. But then like sometimes they'll wrap polyurethane foam with that, or not to go to the nth degree. Our factory is actually GOTS certified. So they come here 3 times a year and they do an independent audit and we have to pull a mattress off the shelf and we have to prove to them from the day that seed was planted to when it got to the cotton gin to when it got to wherever it's going to go along the process, nothing has been muddled with. And we know that along the way, nothing's been tampered with and it's still as good as the day that it was planted into the ground. And I think as a company, and this goes far beyond just Naturepedic, I think a lot of brands now are being called out on authenticity. I think consumers are really starting to get the idea that like, if you say something, you better prove it. We work with Pottery Barn as one of our retailers. And they were one of the front runners for it. In 2019, they were not just with Naturepedic, but you had to prove to them, if you're saying you're organic, you either are or you aren't. And we're going to kick you out of the Pottery Barn family, so to speak, or Williams-Sonoma. And you have to prove that you're organic. And we have to submit all of our organic certifications to them every single year. We're happy with that. We're happy to do it because I got receipts. So we're good. So
you can point to the impact. That's good.
Yes. Yeah. And I think it's good for companies to just really invest in it because it's paid off for us in spades to really go to the nth degree and keeps you true as a company. There's no wiggle room. You either adhere to it or you don't. And that's where we're really proud to be put these parameters around us. We were doing it already anyway. So now we just get this nice certification to prove it.
You just used one of my most favorite sayings, which is, we have the receipts. And we sure do. That's great to know. So, Arin, tell me, you started to talk a little bit about the consumer and consumer trends, and they're willing to pay more, right, for this organic product. You've been with Naturepedic for
11 years.
So you've seen the industry shift and the consumer trends change. Are consumers wanting more of this type of product?
I mean, when I first started here 11 years ago, crib mattresses were king around here, and they still are. We've just, grown exponentially with all of our other categories, and organic mattresses in general, even inside of the baby space too, were a very niche product. And we, along with some other companies too, you give credit where credit's due, have really built up that awareness around safe, healthy sleep and why it matters to invest in our product. And honestly, it's an easy sell. I mean, if you really put like us against a conventional mattress and list all the reasons why, and even if we're like a few $100s more, it's like, I'd rather pay the premium knowing that like I can sleep better at night. And my job is very easy now when it comes to selling Naturepedic and selling organic mattresses, because it's really more about brand awareness than it is about education, because a lot of customers are making those decisions for themselves. It's just, which brand do we want to go with? And I think by us as a company, we're not the only organic mattress on the market. It's how are we going to start ourselves apart in that space of staying true to ourselves, staying true to the family story. We're not some nameless, faceless, VC-backed company that's trying to just market off of the organic sector. Like, we are salt of the earth people. I can't think of another better term. We're from Ohio. It's really, we apologize for everything. The consumer demand is definitely there, and the proof is in the numbers for us as a brand, and we're very excited about that. And even more so exciting for the people who work here is the more business we do, the more money that ownership puts back into our charitable giving. So it really does allow people to be excited about coming into work. We get to do so many cool things and see so many cool things that like the impact of our work does, that it really just drives our teams as a whole. Because you're not just making some guy richer in the background. I mean, every dollar that this company makes, ownership is putting that back into it to grow it and to also do some good in the world. And to work for people like that is great.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Arin, your job must focus a lot on the consumer, and we started to touch a little bit about, there's clearly a demand for an organic product from the consumer. Your company is doing quite well and has seen a lot of growth over the years. So I'm sure you do a lot of consumer research. Are there any other trends that you can share with our listeners just around what are they looking for in terms of sort of wellness or sustainability? Are there any trends that you can share with us within the sort of home product sector?
Yeah, I think COVID was a really good boon to home goods in the sense that people really started to look around themselves and making healthier choices. And we've seen over the last 5 years now of between, I think, care products to cleaning products to what people are eating, but also like textiles within the home, from bath towels to blankets to, whatever. And we've seen like some of our brand partners and stuff. And I even think like down to like toys. I think people are like straying a little bit away from plastic toys. I think people are starting to get back to, wooden toys are making a comeback. They're non-toxic. They're generally built better. And, same thing goes for some of these other cleaning products across the board. And we're following suit. It's great that like everything is trending that way, because The consumer in general is just wanting to make better, healthier choices for themselves from start to finish. And I think that's what's driving this whole organic movement. And I don't think it's slowing down anytime soon. We're just going to, keep going along with it. And I think the more brand partnerships we have, the more diversification we can have as a brand and inclusion in new products that we have done a lot of thoughtful designs for. I think that in and of itself is going to help us grow and just where we can help out too with other partners coming into the scene.
Amazing. Thanks for sharing that. Well, we are to the rapid fire questions within the podcast episode. So are you ready?
I think so.
All right. First one. What is the difference between organic and sustainable?
So organic is really more of where you're sourcing your product from and how it's treated along the way. I think that, where you're sourcing things from, organic cotton, it's that they're not using all these harmful glyphosate pesticides and all these other things in there, to how the wool is treated and how it's harvested and the latex and all of that goes along with other things. And sustainable is really more of like, how are you harvesting those things and how are you making your products? It's really more of like, what environmental impact are you having along the way to get you to the end result of having a finished product out into the marketplace?
I agree with that. All right. What is one value that guides your leadership?
I guide with how I parent, especially tough situations with my kids. And, I have 4 boys, they're little goblins, and prior jobs, I've been yelled at, I've been browbeaten. Some managers just like to rub your nose in a bad experience, and everybody has to learn somehow. And I try and think to myself of, if I were, whether it's with my kids or if I'm at work, if I'm 80 years old and I'm looking back at my life and I get to go back to this particular situation, would I be conducting myself in this particular way? And usually the answer guides me down a different path where you're kind, you're patient, people make mistakes. And 99% of the time, people are beating themselves up more than you can anyway. So what's the point? It's kind of like, what did we do wrong? What did we do right? And how do we grow off of both of those things? And I think that's why I'm speaking for myself from my elevated position, but I think they really like working for me. Maybe if you get them alone, they wouldn't say as much, but I really do value the people that work for me/us, and I take pride in that. And at the end of the day, like I said, it goes back to my kids. If my kids were watching from another room and I didn't know they were there, how would they want me to be seen as their dad, to be talking to somebody else? And it really just strikes something in me to where I probably go out of my way. I don't want to say too much. My wife would say too much. I go out of my way enough to where people feel valued and heard and seen. And I treat everybody the same, whether it's ownership or somebody literally mopping the floors out here in Naturepedic. Everyone deserves respect, and that goes a long way. And hopefully, and I see that in other employees, and people go out of their way for each other. And I don't know, very proud of us working here. So
I like that lens through which to assess how you would deal with certain situations. Would your kids approve? Would they view you as a great role model? So that's great advice. All right, Arin, one more for you, which is there a book or podcast that you have listened to recently that you would recommend to our listeners?
It's hard to pick one in particular. I think I've been doing way too much rabbit hole diving of AI right now. I'm trying to get ahead of the curve, especially from a business perspective, is the way things are going. I don't know if anyone saw like the new VO3 videos that came out last week, and just how far AI video has gone, and to AI assistants, to chatbots, to everything. And it's unavoidable at this point. So I'm trying to soak all of that in. So I probably listen to like 2 or 3, 4 different AI podcasts right now. And it's like ever changing. And I don't have a lot of free time. It's literally, I have no friends anymore, Emma. It's work and my children, and it's okay. I make jokes. One of my sales guys, he and I travel a lot together, and he makes fun of me. I literally tell him he's my best friend, and I don't, only because like I hang out with him more than like my real friends. So it's all business most of the time, except for when my kids. But AI hopefully should make things a little bit easier. Maybe I'll have a little bit more free time after I can maybe designate a little bit more work to AI.
Work smarter, not harder, I think they say. So yeah. No, it's funny that you say that. I just read something that says that the average CMO, which, I know you oversee marketing as well in your role, has to subscribe or absorb about 20 different pieces of content on a daily basis to stay current. So I don't know how we find time to do that, but somehow we must.
I put my kids to bed at night. I lay with them every night. And after we read and all that stuff, I will literally bug the crap out of my social media manager because I am scrolling through Instagram and I'm finding influencers for us to work with or brands that I like, the ads and stuff. Like, I can't help myself. They're like, do you ever do anything else? I'm like, obviously not. This is every night.
I love it. Well, Arin, this has been so fun. And just like all of my episodes, I love to hand the mic over to our guest to share one last parting thought or call to action or message. This is a platform we like to give folks a voice on. And so the floor is yours to share what you'd like.
The one thing I usually always like to end with that is very important to Naturepedic and to me as a dad, as a human, as a manager, whatever, is just trying to do some good in the world. I did an interview last week and do you remember the 90s, Emma? It was great. The good old days. There was no social media. It's just, this constant barrage of there's this happening and that happening and this happening. And I think the world would all, not to be too, little things along the way make a huge difference, especially when you can inspire people to do those things. And it's so easy to do as a brand and it pays off and customers and people just want to buy into you and buy into your brand if they know that you're just trying to make the world a little bit better. I think people are looking for that bright spot, and to be that bright spot yourself, even on a minuscule scale, makes all the difference to somebody somewhere. And it goes beyond just business, and just try and be a good human. It's really what it boils down to.
Well, you've made a difference in my day. Thank you so much for coming onto the podcast. And I hope that this episode will inspire others to do the right thing, to make a difference in somebody's day, even if it's a small step. So thank you so much, Arin. It was great to have you on.
It was great to be here.
Thanks for tuning in to ESG Decoded. We hope this episode has inspired you to take action in your own ESG journey, stimulating ideas for partnership and innovation.
New episodes drop bi-weekly on Tuesday morning. Subscribe now on your favorite streaming platform to stay in the loop.
Join the conversation on social media using @ESG Decoded or visit ClimeCo.com for more resources.
Until next time, keep decoding, keep innovating, and keep making a positive impact.